life cycle of the bee. So the honeybee has a life cycle where they change as they grow. So let's talk a little bit about it. So first, honeybees will make their nest out of wax. And the wax they create with their saliva. And then what they'll do is that they make different hexagons, six-sided shapes that fit together really well in something that we call a honeycomb. Now, the honeycomb, each one of these cells are cleaned out by the bees, by the worker bees with their mandibles, and the queen bee will come in, check and make sure that the cell is clean, and then the queen bee will go in and put her abdomen in the cell and lay an egg. So this little thing here is the egg. The egg will eventually become a larvae. And a larvae, the worker bees have the work of making sure that they're giving the larvae the food. So the worker bees are giving each one of the larvae their food. If they give a larvae a special type of food, it's going to become a queen. And that special type of food is called royal jelly. But they usually will not give that to the larvae. They will give them normal bee food, which is usually the nectar and the honey, to feed the larvae. Once the larvae has become big enough, it will become a pupa. And once it becomes a pupa, the worker bees will cover the pupa and seal it with more wax to make it a pupal cell. And in this cell, they've covered it up so they can't feed the pupa. The pupa is just, doesn't move, but it is transforming from a larvae into a bee. And then this will be a worker bee, most likely, or a drone, which is the male bee, or it might be a queen bee if they gave it royal jelly. And then the cycle repeats itself again. The bee makes the cell, the queen bee puts an egg, the egg becomes a larvae, the larvae becomes a pupa, and the pupa becomes a bee. So here we can see it. The bee makes the cell, the queen lays an egg, the egg becomes a larvae, the larvae becomes a pupa, they seal the pupa into the cell, into the pupal cell, and then the bee, once it's ready, will chew its way out of the pupal cell, and it will be ready to be a worker bee.